What is your take on Foden? Because Gary Neville has been singing that Foden is the best English player at the moment by a mile. And no, Dunk, I'm not CNN this time. He said it. Everybody heard him say it. So, and Mr. Hindell just pointed out that Southgate probably said, oh, he plays wide. Do you think Gary Neville is right? Do you think Southgate also should actually try and be a bit more creative? For example, play Foden in Mount's position and give him the opportunity to create?
Yeah, at the end of the day, if he can play the position, let him play there, and he's going to do. Mount's not doing a half decent job, so anyone else can put it play.
Mount is there for legs, though. You can see how deep Harry Kane is dropping. I think isn't Mount there to push forward and do all the run that Harry Kane will
But
supply the
he's not.
ball
But
to?
he's not breaking. He's not getting beyond the defense, and that's something Foden can do. Foden does it for Man City. He was doing it last season when they were playing false nine. He played false nine for Man City on a few occasions last season. So
what you're saying is Foden should start.
yeah, he's a better player and he's on form, and he can play that position. It's not say you're taking a centre back and trying to put him there. You've got a lot of other creative players that can do the job that Foden does. Grealish could do it. You know what I mean? So he's got to change it up because, as the guys said earlier, you're carrying Mount as a passenger. He's not on form. He's not playing well. He's not affecting the game. So to me, it's causing an imbalance. Harry Kane's dropping deep for Mount to go beyond him. When really and truly you want Harry Kane to stay up top. So if you're going to sacrifice that and make him come deep, you need someone to be going beyond him.
Okay, so we've had this argument a lot of times on this show, but I am very convinced, and this question goes out to any of you, please, or all three of you, answer it in your own version, your own way. Having watched England for England's two matches, I am 100% convinced that Harry Kane is being asked by the manager to drop that deep. 100%. I'm also convinced that Southgate is not really bothered about Harry Kane being in the box. I think he enjoys the fact that Harry Kane drops that deep to help in the midfield. Dunk, you always, attack Southgate, talking about his strategy. When you watch that game against the US, Harry Kane was dropping to defensive midfield, picking up the ball, trying to run on players, taking it and passing the ball. As far as I'm concerned, that is the Southgate strategy. That has nothing to do with, Southgate is happy that his striker can drop that deep to supply other people. Now, you always say, you're talking about strategy and tactics. What do you think, apart from everybody saying Foden should play, what should Southgate actually implement here? What do you think he should do that everybody's seeing that he isn't?
Well, I think I had a good point on the program I was watching the other day. Like, if he's going to ask Harry Kane to drop that deep, just drop Mount and play another striker. Like, if you want Harry Kane to come that deep and he's going to be coming back into midfield or centre attack in midfield and drop him behind where he should be playing, then just get Wilson in the team or someone else that can play ahead of him. Like Steve said, Foden could play a false nine if you want someone to push ahead. In the USA game, it seemed like when Harry Kane was dropping deep, then Sterling was just hanging around the box. Saka seems to put in a shift and comes back as well. But Sterling, again, most of that game, Sterling was just sauntering around the opposition half. But again, partly that's not his fault because the ball barely made it up to their half very often because we were too often passing it around the back.
Is Southgate suggesting that Harry Kane is a better midfielder than he has with other players on that bench?
No.
If you're asking him to drop that
No.
deep.
And I don't think he's asking him to drop that deep. I mean, if you look at the heat maps, he isn't as actually deep as he looks for the whole game. The problem is when he's up there, he's very isolated. The ball's not getting to him. So he's getting more and more frustrated because we were just poor. Like just poor from start to finish. Interestingly enough, when you look at the heat map, look at Mount's heat map. It's really, I'll link it on so people can see it on there. But he's everywhere. He's left, he's right, he's centre. He is doing way too much, which I think is then causing Harry Kane to be out of position as well. So you've got two players that are playing out of position. You've got Sterling, who is literally playing as left wing and mainly left. There's hardly any central running. Saka's running up and down the pitch for the whole game when you look at his heat map. So we're not really staying, I would say, in the position will play that they should be in. Whether they've been told to not be so rigid is another story. But you've got Sterling, who's playing like I suppose he would play for Man City when he was there. He's staying up the top and playing out left. You like when Henry got when he was playing for Barcelona under Pep, exactly the same thing. He wants him playing out wide in the final. Only in the final third should he be changing where he's at. But then Saka's playing completely different, and you've got Mount doing his own thing, and then you've got Kane doing his own thing. So I agree that there needs to be some form of element from Southgate to say, actually, look, like, you're not where you should be. We need to be here and here. And that's a great point that other chap made that you stole his idea from. If Kane's going to drop deep, put another striker up there with him. But does that then flood it? I think the easy situation here is to drop Mount and put in somebody that can actually.
So speaking about his heat maps, and you're talking about him running and he's clearly, if you're looking at the heat map, he's clearly doing a lot of work. He's on the left, he's on the right. So you guys have said no, he's not suggesting that Harry Kane is a better midfielder and taking out Mount. But clearly with the heat map, you have just shown that Mount does a lot of work off the ball. And Harry Kane is dropping. I mean, Mr. Hinder said he doesn't look like he's dropping that deep. He does look like he's dropping that deep. I even said it. I was like, if this guy goes the entire tournament without getting injured, I'll be surprised. Defenders, I mean, he's dragging out central defenders all the way to the midfield. That's to tell you how tight these guys are trying to be with him because they know he's going to drop deep. Big Steve, okay. Harry Kane drop deep, take out Mounts. Everybody says put in Foden. But are we saying can Foden do as much work off the ball as like Mount? Does that also mean that the creativity is still bound to Harry Kane?
To me, it's not. It's not even a case of Harry Kane dropping deep. You can do it on occasion, but there is a bit of managers want him to do it. But I think he believes his own hype as well about how creative he is from deep. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're a striker. Play up top. That's where you need to be. Yeah, you can drop deep occasionally, but you don't need to drop into the centre circle all the time to pick up the ball and knock 60-yard passes.
If it's his own doing, the manager would have told him by now, though.
Yeah, but the manager can tell him. If he's not listening, is the manager going to drop him? I don't think so. Harry Kane's in that unique position where if he does it, he can kind of like get away with it. Yeah, if he consistently does it, because Southgate's not going to drop him and say put in Wilson. At the end of the day, Harry Kane's a striker. England need goals. He needs to play up top, and the creativity comes from behind.
So what
him.
You're saying here, just to be clear, what you're saying is Harry Kane can do. He believes in his own hype because he knows Southgate wouldn't drop him. But can Southgate drop him and tell the striker to stay up, and then everybody play where they're supposed to play?
Can Southgate do that? He could do.
Yeah.
Because if he dropped Harry Kane and played Callum Wilson's not going to drop deep and try and spread 60-yard passes. Callum Wilson's playing on the shoulder of the last defender. He's looking to get in behind. He's looking for goals. That's what he's doing.
But that's very one-dimensional for 90 minutes to play.
Yeah, but he hasn't got it in his locker to say he can drop deep and knock 60-yard passes and all that stuff. Yeah, Harry Kane can do it. But at the end of the day, England need a striker. England need a focal point up top. They have enough creativity in their midfielders and attacking players for Harry Kane not to drop deep. Yeah?
I don't have a problem with him dropping deep. I have a problem with him with everyone else not picking up where they should be picking up. If there's an instruction that Harry Kane is allowed to drop deep, or let's bring him that back, and then the two wide men come and fill the gap at the top, that's perfect as far as I'm concerned. But the issue we've got in there is the lack of creativity from start to finish in that game was dreadfully bad. We had more possession, more passes. They fouled us way more, but it was just one-dimensional and boring because there was nothing in there. Which Foden, going back to him, he has a creative spark, and you think that some of those other players do, but they don't really have the creative spark for their clubs. You look around and you go like, they're all steady eddies, yeah. Bringing Henderson on was probably the biggest disappointment of the whole game. But there's like Saka doesn't have a creative spark. Sterling doesn't have the creative spark. They're in and around the box scoring goals and getting a few passes at them, but they're not lighting up that midfield. They're not Gazarin or Scholes or Gerrard looking for that killer ball. And that's what we're missing, man.
Is that based on Southgate's strategy? This creative spark that you're talking about? Because when you're looking at that game, whenever there was a friendly England plays against Belgium, and I think that's the only time I've seen Grealish play in the middle. And Grealish was outstanding in that game. But every other time Grealish comes in, he puts him wide. Now, speaking about creative spark, as you've mentioned, he brings in Jordan Henderson. Not that creative. When you look at the middle, against the US, Jude Bellingham was making a lot of runs up and down, trying to go forward, trying to stay back, trying to go forward. Rice was just happy to sit, which means once again Harry Kane had to drop and help, while Jude Bellingham is actually going forward. So, Big Dunk, based on what Mr. Hinder is saying in terms of creative spark, you need somebody to actually bust that middle. Southgate in the Euros played Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. He made two of them sit. Harry Kane was still dropping deep, but England created more chances. Are we saying that he should probably go back to that in terms of creative spark? Because the problem that we see here is there's no creative spark. Harry Kane is dropping too deep, and people are not playing, where they should play. So everything points to the manager, right?
Yeah, the creativity for me, the lack of it it's just the lack of forward-looking passes. Like they're so static and predictable. Like the game started off with nearly 2 minutes of Maguire to Stones to Pickford to Maguire to Stones. Like who's coming to look for the ball? Like and when it does move forward, when it gets past the defense, maybe it's to a Rice or a Bellingham. Bellingham's good at it; he'll look forward. But my God, they're so static, like staying still, and they're not even looking for the pass forward. They just receive the ball and looking back towards their own goal, left and right. Who's there that I can pass to? Like that's the lack of creativity for me. So yeah, Neil said they need like players to someone like a Scholes would actually like can pass, and have some vision and look out for other players around the pitch. That's the big issue for me at the minute. Like when we have build-up play, it's just so predictable and it so often ends up just going back to the defenders.
In terms of predictability, Mr. Hinder, has England become too predictable?
No.
Especially with Southgate?
No, I don't think they're too predictable under Southgate. I think Kane's new role is in itself different for most people to be dealing with. Bellingham sits defensively with Rice, and they're playing as almost our defensive midfielders. I think what Mount is supposed to be playing, you either having a three in the midfield, which is why Kane's dropping back, or you've got Mount who is lacking that creative spark that we're really, really, really missing, because that's why Kane's coming deep, because he wants that ball. He's not getting it anywhere else. Like Dunc said, you're starting the game off and you're passing around left and right. And it's really not going forwards, and it's just crab football for it. It's fine when we're in the position that we're in. In the knockout stages, it's going to be different. We're going to have to get a goal or 2 goals, and ideally 2 goals and sit back, not 1 goal and sit back. But the predictability, I don't think it matters when you're England, because we can mix it up. Like Rashford, he's got pace for days, right? He can come on and attack. Maybe he could go up top instead of Wilson, right, or instead of Kane, and you play with the two. He's got way more pace than Wilson. A little bit of confidence. He seems really high on confidence at the moment in that England team, which is nice. And they look like they're playing with smiles on their faces. I know it was a boring game of football, but they didn't ever look like they were going to lose it. Like the USA could have played for 4.5 weeks.
No, they did.
I don't.
They did. I didn't
ever think that they ever looked like they were going to lose the game at all.
USA had chances, and I still think we're going to see, like you just talked about the crab football around the back. I think we're going to see a goal conceded by England where they're playing that stupid nonsense, and we get dispossessed, and someone gets a goal. Let's
not when Harry Maguire
Wales,
is playing as well as he played. He played really well.
Good question. I like the fact that, good statement. I like the fact that you mentioned. So when you look at the England defense, usually, especially with 2 goals considered against Iran, a lot of people talk about, there's a mistake in there. But from the 2 games, Pickford, the backline, Harry Maguire, John Stones, Trippier's looked really good. Sure. The defense line seems like they look really good. Now, what the issue is, the people in front of them, where are these holes coming from? The defense line looks good. Now, Steve, when you're looking at the question I asked about predictability and what will possibly happen if moving forward. So let's move to the Wales game. Clearly, Dunc and Mr. Hinder were so happy that Kiefer Moore's side, Wales side, lost to Iran. Probably spent the entire 90 minutes talking on the WhatsApp group. I actually wondered if they were watching the game. They were just waiting for Iran to score. So now it's a local derby, England versus Wales. England is unless they lose by 5-0 or 4 goals, they've qualified. This game has everything: local derby, bragging rights. Do you think, in terms of switching it up, in terms of strategy, who has to? Obviously, Wales has to do more. But in terms of proving a point of strategy, where do you think the loss of that game is for England and for Wales?
For Wales to the loss of the game.
So is it
It's-
going to
it's-
lose it in midfield?
it's gonna-
Is it a case of
It's going to be
some
It's
defender?
going to be on how hard Wales work. If they keep the work rate high, because they're not going to have more possession than England. Yeah, so they need to keep the work rate high, keep the pressure on. I think they need to start with Kiefer Moore, because in fact you nullify Harry Maguire at both ends.
Nullify
of the pitch
him how?
because he's dominant in the air. Yeah,
So is Harry Maguire.
Yeah, exactly. So the game against USA, it was too easy for Maguire in the air. Every corner, I think it was 9 or 10 corners, he put his head to it. But with Kiefer Moore, you actually nullify him.
You realise Wales haven't scored a goal on open play, right?
Yeah, I know.
That's fine. Just making sure.
I know.
It wasn't a dig at Wales at all.
The thing is with Bell, you've got the X factor. What Gareth Bell can do if he gets himself up for it, he has the ability to.
10 years ago, man. Nah, sorry. Gareth Bale and Ramsey are two dead players in that Wales team. They would be much better without them. John Hartson all over Gareth Bale like he just signed up to his OnlyFans account for the first game was disgusting. Like he was some kind of hero. What a pen.
Did you just say Wales would do better without Bale in the team right now?
I mean, they're not playing well at all in any way, shape, or form.
Did you watch the Iran game, JJ? They did nothing. Nothing.
Less than
I know. That's one game, though. But this is a local derby. This is different.
I'm not saying that Gareth Bale is going to come and run the game for 90 minutes. What I'm saying is he does have it in his locker to do one outstanding thing in the game and grab a goal. He can do that.
Like 12-yard pen.
So if they keep it tight, he can do it.
Mate, I am literally about as worried as that game about them to even play. Bale playing well is Mount not playing. Like
he can definitely outpace the England backline.
Yeah, I'd be worried about it. Don't forget, this is their World Cup final. Like teams like Wales, that's their World Cup final when they're playing England. They'll bring it on. And they'll go up a level. So let's not kid ourselves that that's going to be a walkover or Bale won't do anything. Because I wouldn't, like Steve said, I wouldn't be surprised if Bale did something against England. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
He won't. He won't. He literally, he's on the golf course already. He's halfway back home thinking, I want to be back in that warm climate, 18 holes and a cup swift pint afterwards before training for foot. Man, like he's been horrendous this tournament already.
Yeah,
okay, so from the confidence of Mr. Hinder and the way things are looking, England will finish top of Group B and possibly will play second place team from Group A. So before we move on to look at the Group A and see what's happening from the two games that have been played, so final thoughts on Group B. Mr. Hinder, England to qualify, England to beat Wales, and you're pretty certain that the strategy and the defense and everything will be sorted moving forward as England are not particularly predictable, as you say.
I mean, we almost play 4-4-2. We're predictable in everything that England do, but we've got in the locker to be unpredictable if we need to. But everybody knows how every country plays football. There's a blueprint etched in them from birth, it seems. Even the new Spain team try and play like the old team. France are still playing the same way as they've always played. In Germany, still playing the way they played. In Brazil, still looking sexy as heck. But it's going to be easy. I've got no doubt about that Wales game just being an absolute bore fest of a game. Maybe it'll be dirty and there'll be a couple of red cards for Wales. Sorry, but that's literally like it's going to be a horrendous watch.
If we win the group though, I wouldn't be backing us against Ecuador. Watch them against the Netherlands the other night. They're a team that has a go all game. So
I'm wondering whether we're better off coming runners up. Because if we win, we get like the run out, and then after that, if we get through, we play France.
Yeah, if it all goes like as you would predict, it would be like that.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, well, Dunc, final word. England to finish top. You obviously are still worried about Southgate's strategy. What do you see moving forward? What needs to change for you to be convinced?
He just has to grow a pair and not be playing games to not lose, like in the knockouts. Like I said, if it goes like how you think and we win and Ecuador runners up, for example, like I said, Ecuador will have a go at you all game, and when we see our defense under pressure, like they can handle the aerial stuff, but they're not great at handling the stuff on the ground through the middle. So again, we'll see how it goes. But like we've seen the best and worst of England straight away. Like we've seen the 6 goals against Iran. It was great. Everyone was happy. And then we've seen the, oh my God, we better make sure we don't lose this one. Okay. And the way we played against the USA. So I don't know, like, but I wasn't getting carried away with the Iran result. I expected like the more of the England we saw against USA. Maybe we're going to grind it out, but like I said, if you're going to play like that, you just run the risk of being hit on the break or being taken under pressure, like dispossession of defence, go a goal behind, and then how are they going to react? Like it hasn't looked good when they've had to react to pressure so far.
Do you
England?
Oh, sorry, JJ. I just want to ask that one question on that. If we played Ecuador, chances are quite high, and they take the game to us, do you think that gives us a different mindset though? Because like the last game, USA didn't take it to us. They gave way too much respect, which was why it was an absolute bore fest of a game, right? But if Ecuador come in our face and they're right hard there, do you think that we're going to play differently?
Don't use phrases like that.
Do you think we're going to play differently? Do you think that would change the mentality there?
Maybe it will suit us a bit better because that's what he likes to do. He likes to defend, and maybe we'll hit them on the break. But again, like the whole conversation we've just been having, the frustrating thing is like how good we are when we do look forward and we go for it. And it's just frustrating that for whatever 60-70% of the match we're just happy to knock it around and not go forward. And I still maintain, I've been saying this for years, an England fan, like you can watch any other team in the world and any other team at this tournament, and they will not labour the way England labour to create an attack and to get into the opponent's half and to create something and like just have a go. Like you can watch your Ecuadors, your Qatars, even Japan's. They will get the ball and they will look forward and they will have a go. Whereas we're like content to just knock it around and we just seem to be too scared to like go for an attack for some reason.
Big Steve, final word on Group B. With England looking like they're going to finish top of the group, these lads have hoping that they'll play the likes of Ecuador, even finish runners-up. What do you see? How far do you see England going? And of course, if there's room for improvement, where do you think needs to improve?
Their attacking cohesion. The team seems off balance, especially in the transition. They don't have no one in the middle that moves it quick to take advantage of any one-on-ones. Put Saka in a one-on-one situation or Sterling. They're not players that you want to labour and pass the ball quickly. England don't do that. So I think they really need to improve in that transition, because when they come up against teams that have better possession than them, that's going to be very, very key. They're going to have to go from back to front very quickly to take advantage of people like Sterling or Saka who to go through on goal. If they don't improve that, I don't see them grinding out results to get through.
Attacking cohesion, improvements to be made. Dunc still doesn't like Southgate. Mr. Hinder still believes. We shall see how it goes moving forward. England, Wales next. We'll see how that local derby goes. And of course, wonderful to see who England actually gets in the last 16.
Martins.